Like it hurts and they said it won't hurt.
We read a word. She brought up that early.
Okay. All right, let's open up the meeting. All right, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion for the agenda.
All those in favor then, say aye. Opposed? Minutes from the December 1st meeting. Let's see any changes. If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. Public comment. Do we have public comment today or are they all here for their awards? Do you have any up in the west? I'm up there either or online. You call in? None? Hey, conflicts of interest come at that time. There's no other supervisor here that is not. No. All right. Jump up to, yours is pretty short, isn't it?
Yes.
Number 7. All right.
Morning, committee. Just a quick update on parks. I passed out a picture of the decontamination signs. Those are all installed currently at 7 locations. The last one that we're waiting on is white ash. And that one will be installed in the spring due to, right now the dock's frozen there where the sign was supposed to go. So that one is our last one to put up. So those are all installed and ready to go for spring. And then staff is just working on the approved projects from the budget cycle, getting ready for our spring projects for the parks play equipment and our trails. So we're working on that stuff for 2020.
Questions, anyone? Thank you. Can we do not, Eric, what do we have? We got, we do it in 15 minutes?
I can do 12. You can jump down to 12.
Let's jump down to 12, okay. Because I don't think the public hearing will be too bad.
We're jumping to 12A. So Malia's here as well. I did place in the packet the letter we got from the Wisconsin Historical Society. Basically reminding us about the Wisconsin's burial site preservation law. And their intent is to catalog plots out there. And you can look at this letter as, you know, cease and desist, although really not, but they are recommending there's no activity out there. So I thought that was appropriate to share in the packet. I believe Malia has some other developments.
So Adam Jarko, the attorney for the town, and I met with the gentleman who came before this committee twice in my office a few weeks ago. Adam then brought to the town board, the town of Lincoln, the request that that gentleman and his partner from New Jersey had about continuing some type of, even if it's just maintaining what's there and adding, you know, flowers for pollinators and that sort of thing. The town board, understanding that it does appear that they have the ownership interest in the cemetery, said that they were not interested in working with any outside folks, including those gentlemen, and so they declined. My understanding is that if there's continued activity, the town would ask the county to join in on some type of injunctive relief to stop them from doing what they're doing. But at this point, we're hoping for voluntary compliance.
Questions? That's short and sweet. Thank you.
Well, B, no developments there. We did send a letter to the Bureau Director with a timeline and a goal. So we have a theory, maybe they're waiting for the Star litigation analyzed before they communicate with us. That's a theory.
Yeah.
Do there. Chairman O'Connell, we could bring it back once we put it back, place it back on the agenda once we do hear from you. We also called and
We'll think about it.
the work plan, which also is in the packet. I took your input from the last meeting and added it. Do you have a color version? So those items in red.
No.
Well, if you don't have a color version, I did incorporate your thoughts for topics to add to a work plan for 2022. UW Extension has communicated with me about presenting in January with the new ag agent. We have a dairy specialist. Well, that's Brian Sterry. He'll now serve Polk County. And then the new other ag agent out of Ellsworth.
Is that the first or second meeting in June?
Don't need. We did, Jason brought up a great suggestion and so this has been added as well. It's not in your packet, but we'd like to present on the past year's work on zoning compliance. Just some statistics and pictures of Logan's efforts, work with our clientele and finding compliance. So we thought we'd add that to the January work plan. And in June, the idea is to actually add some more time from land and water. So there might be doing some programming in June as well. So those are some new developments. Notice the groundwater study results. We're doing 2 watersheds in next year, so we'll present those results in October. We'll also update you all on the 10-year land and water resource management plan next year as well. I think the April one, the Lovis Lake Water Sediment Control Basin presentation will be informative. If you all recall last summer what happened out in Lovis and what Land and Water has done to mitigate that. That'll be very interesting. So with that, you do have any other topics?
What 2 watersheds are we doing this year, Bob?
Upper Trade and Apple River.
Upper trade, you said?
So then we'll have updates on the park stuff.
Oh, yeah,
And
that-
trail stuff will be just about every
Pretty much every month.
at least
Yeah,
one
you
of
know,
the
like,
meetings.
very good question. Today, we're going to present the final master plan, trail network plan, rather. We're going to have to scope out all those projects. A lot of those cost estimates that our consultant provided, are uninflated. We want to look at our local market costs on that. Granted, once that plan gets approved by this committee and the full county board, Mo and his team and our team will sit down and identify projects that we can do internally. As you know, all those top 6 projects are budgeted for in 2022. So it's our job to hear the budget, apply for grants to subsidize those costs. And for those projects we need to farm out, we're going to be bringing those to you for not only this project scope, but also the bid awards. So there's a lot more work to do on both the scope and the costs. So you'll hear about that potential events later.
there'll be things from zoning and stuff as we go in.
Yeah, if there's topics you're interested in, just simply email me by the end of the year. We can talk about them and potentially add them to the work.
Well, our January, we might have to add these proposed ordinances. We don't have the,
CDs or the calendar.
and the condo one and stuff like that, one, so we don't forget that.
Well, Jason will talk about that.
Is it on the newest one?
It's on the agenda today.
It's on the agenda, but on our work plan.
It may not be, but we'll,
It'll get on the work plan,
yeah,
that's what I'm shooting
certainly
for.
put it on the agenda.
Yeah. Sure, okay.
Yeah, it's a living document. As, you know, issues emerge, we add.
Zoning, yeah. The condo and different stuff.
At some point later in the year, maybe get an update on ag tourism and how it's all working. Later in the year after we've had some time.
Gotta approve it.
Yeah, it's gotta be
Yeah.
approved first, yeah. It's gotta be approved first.
Right. That's right.
Let's approve it. We get an update on that. Yeah.
Nice to evaluate how that.
Yeah.
Goes out.
All right. All right. We're gonna have to cut you off quarter after.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Let's read that in, Jason, so we get started. I don't think we have nobody on line, do we, or upstairs? Okay,
Sure.
Lot to read in on this one, but
okay,
this would be the proposed amendment and that to the Polk County Code of Ordinances regarding the survey exemption between adjoining landowners and also the condominium amendment to the subdivision ordinance. The county did post the hearing for the 2-week notice and that in the paper, and that prior to the actual hearing. This goes back to a petition that was filed in August and that to amend the ordinance. And that with the clerk, it's been the same as what's in your packet there. So there's minimal changes. And that adjoining landowner transfer change is to clarify that it only applies between adjoiners of different ownership versus the same. Because what we have people trying to do is get around the minor subdivision process. And if they've got 2 parcels, instead of subdividing it, just want to take and move the line. Let's say we got 2 40s and they want to take and sell off a 19-acre parcel. They're taking and deeding the other 60 acres or roughly, and that as 1 parcel, and then they basically just create. Whereas if there are different ownership, and then that should prevent that. Also, in that our surveyor, Steve, and the real property lister, and that would like that phrase on there that basically hooks the 2 properties together, just so it's very clear that they're processing a lot of documents every day. And that way they'll be able to catch it easier to make sure that they tie any adjoining landowner transfers together. So where that provision really comes into play is, let's say somebody built a shed across the property line and they want 10 feet of their neighbor's land. Deed them 10 feet of land without having to go through and get a full survey. So that's what we're kind of talking about when we're talking adjoining landowner. Since we provided the notice and that for the public hearing, and that we have met, and that internally, and we've created a little work group, and that to work on multi-unit developments and condo amendments. So I guess staff would recommend in that we hold off on forwarding any of that to the county board and that, because hopefully we have other options for you guys to look at in the future and hopefully soon.
I've got any questions from anyone here? Is there any public comment here for this?
You know, and we did not receive any written comments at all.
Okay. Receive it. Okay, so that would be, there's no other. So we could close the public hearing, I would imagine that, no comments. And then entertaining motion to move it to the board without the condo and multi-unit.
Just for the adjoining property.
Yeah, just the survey part.
It'd be nice to get that cleared up and that, before the end of the year. Maybe do a memo with the deeds and that people that are doing it, the title companies and stuff, so that they know when they're tracking their deeds correctly. That's the idea behind trying to get that.
Adjoining property.
And postpone it, postpone indefinitely. All right, so Doug moved that. Is there a second? Second by Brad. Any other questions of Jason or anyone else? Not all those in favor, say aye. Opposed? So that will be on the December meeting. Board, this will be on the December board meeting then. Who will still make it?
I don't think so.
That's not, what was the deadline?
Oh, that's Tuesday. No, it'll be on January.
Maybe in January.
All right.
Let's put it January. And hopefully we have something in that for the condo MUD stuff for you and that in January. And that's kind of what we're thinking. I don't know if it'll be first meeting or second meeting. So depends on how much revision.
And that'll require another public hearing anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
That'd be a separate public hearing.
Yep. For that, we might have some other ones by then too.
And then we were also directed in that to kind of go over the campground provisions in the ordinance. And that because Burnett County is seeing a large increase in the number of campgrounds. And that's, we kind of reevaluated that and looked at Burnett County actually created an ad hoc committee for their campground amendment. And they came up with a lot of text. So I looked at that. I also looked at Barron and a couple other surrounding counties and that to create some proposals. So we'll probably bring that to you at the same time.
All right, thank you. All right, now, here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Our first annual Land and Water Resources Department Stewardship Award is something that we've really been looking forward to for a long time. At a time when staffing capacity and program support is limited, we really rely on and value volunteers and partnerships to develop and advance goals related to natural resource management. Along our journey, Land and Water Resources staff had the pleasure to work with certain people that engage in natural resource management at a high level and stay there because it's their way of life. We as staff are internally grateful for the support of these individuals. And there are a few words that can describe our appreciation. To recognize these people that are so valuable to our community, the Land and Water Resources Department has developed an award program to recognize these super volunteers as a way to say thank you. For the very first time, it's my honor to present to you the recipients of our very first annual Land and Water Resources Award. And I'll share a little bit more about the award here before we announce the winners. There are two categories to this award: land stewardship and water stewardship. Each can be awarded to an individual or group. Each award winner has been a valued partner to the Land and Water Resources Department in soil and water resource management. Each award winner has dedicated a significant amount of time and treasure assisting with initiatives related to soil and water resource management. Each award winner is a leader and has influenced many of their peers to engage in resource management practices and protection efforts. Each award winner continues to proudly support natural resource protection efforts to make Polk County the best place to live, work, and play. And at this time, it's my honor to present to you the winners of the 2021 Land and Water Resources Land Stewardship Award. And we have pretty good representation of those folks today. We're missing a few. They've had other business at the farms and elsewhere if they were off the farm. But The members of the Horse Creek Area Watershed Council. They include Tim Johnson, Scott Carlson, Brad Johnson, Richard Nelson, Craig Gustafson, and Neil Gustafson. This group of individuals, along with their families, assembled in March of 2013. Since then, I'm proud to say their efforts and ideas have shaped what conservation agriculture programming is available for us today. So with that, I want to present to them this wonderful award that we've had made. There's a personal touch on this too, because they might recognize some of the background images, but Brad Johnson. Thank you. Craig Gustafson. And Tim Johnson. Thank you, guys. There are 3 other awards to Scott Carlson, Richard Nelson, and Neil Gustafson, and we will deliver those. But I want to share with you a little bit about the influence of this group and these individuals. First of all, they've influenced agriculture policy. Their example and much of their work early on influenced a $250,000 budget initiative, the state of Wisconsin, to provide funding for the development of producer-led watershed councils across the state of Wisconsin, like the one they're involved in. Since then, the initiative has grown and is now providing $750,000 and funding to up to 27 groups statewide. The group has also offered insights on other policymaking processes by hosting various elected officials to inform them on how agriculture can help improve ground and surface water quality. Peer influence, outreach and education, and peer-to-peer learning is a priority for all farmer-led watershed councils. At a local scale, this group has performed countless seminars and field days, bringing information about soil and water conservation to the ag and non-ag community. They've opened up their operations as outdoor classrooms to showcase what they're doing and how it's working, sharing their successes and failures in the hopes to advance these practices. The messaging on the best management practices and how to implement them has been very successful. And the practices they're actively promoting are being seen throughout our county, throughout the state. Their additional contributions. Much of the group has been involved in running a cover crop test plot for 7 years. They're doing a lot of the field work there. A lot of the ideas come from them. Much of the intent of this cover crop test plot was to see how cover crops work in Northwest Wisconsin and answer a lot of questions that other producers may have. It's been a pretty successful and fun project. Many of them are volunteering on planning committees. They're also exploring innovative programming, such as carbon farm planning and the farm stewardship rating tool development. They've been guest speakers in other watershed areas, eastern part of Wisconsin to the southwestern part of Minnesota, sharing what they're doing and how farmer-led movement is working. They've been a part of many press releases and stories in various news outlets. And most of all, they're leading a soil and water conservation movement by example. There are countless more accomplishments and contributions. Overall, this group's reach has been broad and very impactful. All of the members are deserving recognition for their hard work and dedication. And all of us at Land and Water Resources Department are grateful for their dedication. And for that, we thank them. At this time, I'd now like to pass the mic to Caitlin Anderson, our Information and Education Specialist, will announce the Water Stewardship Award winner.
Morning. So I am very excited to present the Water Stewardship Award to Kieran Engelbertson. And I was just thinking back to when I started with the county, which has been 10 years already, which is crazy. And I was remembering that Kieran was one of the first people that, when we talked about what I should be doing and who I should be talking with and who to meet with, the top of the list. So be excited to be giving this award. So Kieran is a graphic designer, and I did bring some of the examples of the different things that I'm going to be talking about as some of the accomplishments. And one thing that Kieran does is either offer these services at a volunteer or a discounted rate. And so kind of a variety of different things on the table, like I said, and we'll show some of them. But really her work has furthered a wide range of lake stewardship educational efforts. And you'll see that in some of these examples from topics including like shoreline restoration, invasive species prevention, aquatic and native plant awareness, wildlife protection, and habitat restoration. And I kind of divided the presentation into 3 different slides with 3 different focuses. And so the first thing I was going to briefly talk about was Kieran's work with the Polk County Association of Lakes and Rivers. And this is really where I've partnered the most with Kieran. So I wanted to start with this. Kieran has served as the president of this group since 2001. It's not a typo. 2001. So we thank her for that. And through PICLAR, she's done a lot of different brochures, worked on a lot of different projects. And the first one up there is the Who's Contacts for your waterfront property questions. And I did bring some of these if anyone wants a copy of that. And this is something we're always updating and making sure those contacts are up to date. She did work on some bait stickers for AIS laws and regulations that were given out to a lot of the places that sell bait. And then another cool project is waterproof lake maps with AIS messaging. There is an example of that on the table as well. Those are kind of the things she's helped with, either the illustration or design on. And then through PICLAR, we also do a lot of different educational opportunities. And so some of the big ones that I wanted to highlight were a lake management workshop that we did. It was 3 different sessions, each a couple of hours. I had really great attendance. And then we also, through PICLAR, were able to bring the Lake District Commissioner training to Polk County. So that's something that usually is offered at the Lakes Convention in Stevens Point. It's integral to kind of bringing that training opportunity here. We did it upstairs and had a really great turnout. Most of the lakes that have districts or associations were represented and attended that training. My next slide is Kieran is also really active with Bone Lake Management District. That's where her family has had a cabin for, I think, over 100 years. So she's very active with Bone Lake. And I think that's something where, Kieran, your efforts are special. Not only does she do the lake level, which a lot of people do give a lot of time for their local lake, but also for the county and, as you'll see, state projects. And so Kieran is serves as an elected commissioner in the secretary position for the Bone Lake Management District, and then she's also the chair of the Wildlife and Natural Beauty Committee. And has really taken the lead on multiple Bone Lake fairs, and then a Bone Lake Star Party event, which I actually was able to go to that kind of on my off time. But the point was all about natural lighting and kind of conscious of light pollution, but making it a fun event that people would come to the Star Party. And then also has been the lead on initiating a lot of wildlife surveys on Bone Lakes, frog, bird, and then another one they're working on right now. And then was also involved with this beautiful wildlife and habitat photo up here. And that was something that was mailed to all of the folks that are members, kind of advance that. And then the last slide that I have is, I said, Kieran's also done a lot of work at the statewide level, helping with a lot of different brochures. And I brought one of those, so the top 10 native plants brochures, and then the top 10 native shrubs for wildlife brochures. And then a really cool project is the Wisconsin Lakes trivia game. That, and I have that on the table. And then also, I don't know if any of folks have heard about the Healthy Lakes Initiative. That's a Wisconsin DNR grant program trying to promote shoreline best management practices. Kieran has done a lot of the design work for that too. It's always cool to see Kieran's name on things that are done at the state level for me. So that's what I've got. Thank you.
The Polk County representative. Karen is the secretary. And just over the last 4 years, watching her wonderful job of she does protecting the lake. Langle Park on the shoreland. These are all things that I have just watched. Rain gardens, tours, she's just passionate about the lake.
Yeah, the hardest part was paring this down to 3 slides for me. Like, talked for, as Eric, I'm sure we each could have talked on this for much longer.
Without a doubt. And I can't emphasize enough, how appreciative we are of these great people that we get to work with. And I'm convinced that our staff and programming wouldn't be as successful as it is without them. So with that, I want to give a round of applause to these people. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I just make a comment, please? I'm Tim Johnson, one of the Horse Creek Watershed Council members. And first of all, we want to say thank you for the award, but more significantly, thank you for your community support to our watershed effort. Without Eric and Dane, we would not be successful. And Eric didn't mention this, but one of the metrics that we use is measuring the amount of phosphorus we've kept out of Horse Creek. For those that know about plant growth, there's 3 major elements: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. With water quality, phosphorus is your limiting factor, and adding 1 pound of phosphorus into a body of water will create 500 pounds of algae or non-desirable aquatic vegetative growth. The models have shown that the Horse Creek watershed has reduced 2,000 pounds of phosphorus into Horse Creek, which means 1 million pounds of less aquatic vegetative growth at Cedar Lake. So our accomplishments have been very significant, but it wouldn't be without Eric and Dave and your support. So thank you very much. I also have to comment, these awards are really nice. I saw them sitting on the table and I thought they're going to be a loaf of sausage, but
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Jason is still here. We'll jump back to number 10.
Okay, so this is going on the agritourism stuff in your first meeting. And that we talked about some proposed amendments. And then we basically put it back to the folks in that are wanting to do the ag tourism stuff in Polk County and said, hey, why don't you provide us some feedback? What are you really looking for? And
Their feedback, do you want the other one?
yeah, well, it's just fine. And so, you guys probably remember when Sylvia presented to you guys at the last meeting? And she provided some feedback on our proposed text that we had before. First one to that is that we had that an annual permit may be obtained from the zoning office to have the campers on the property. We started with just an arbitrary number of 3 travel trailers for 3 weekends a year. And she would like to see that the 3 weekends a year increase to 24 weekends a year. She had some questions about the zoning permit, but of course that'd be set with our fee schedule. maximum of 3 travel trailers would stay the same, but then they removed the camping units or tents from the parcel. So I don't know if that means that they're just prohibiting tents completely, or if they don't want to count tents. And they'd like to increase the length of stay from 2 nights to 3 nights per campground or per campsite. And then they left it the same in that for the 3 acres in one parcel. I was talking with Brian Hobbs here yesterday from our health department. Brian's here too for you guys to ask questions. That might be something that we'd want to make the same because our current travel trailer park requires a 5-acre minimum. And that versus a 3. Yeah, but we kind of just said 3, 3, 3 on everything when we first started, and that to let you guys kind of pick in that and fine tune those numbers. If you need them. Any questions on any of that? Right.
It's just their wish list right now, isn't
It's
it?
their wish list. Yep. And then instead of the farm owner and then just doing the farming activities as their primary source of income, they would like to take and just say that the land must be zoned agricultural. From staff's point of view, and that I think we can do that, but it'd be nice to specify because we don't really have an agricultural zoning district. We've got our Ag 5, we got our Ag 10, we got our Ag 20. You know, so it could maybe include all of those, or maybe you'd only include one of those. You know, that's up to you guys. Otherwise, they left the other 2 provisions the same.
Would it make it easier? And I don't know, but if we went to the 5 acres, would that tie into the Ag 5 better?
It's going to be the same. Yeah. Yep. That won't really affect it. So the density goal is 1 house per 5 acres, which is kind of where the travel trailer kind of comes in and maybe conflicts a little bit with the density of the zoning district, because in an Ag 10 district, we really are only looking at 4 dwellings per 40 acres. And that, well, if we got 3 travel trailers plus the house on site, we technically got 4, dwelling units there for their 3 nights.
Temporary, that wouldn't matter, would it? Just
Yeah, it's not going to
It
conflict in
it
that,
shouldn't
but
count then as a unit if it's just temporary 3 nights
would not count.
for density.
I'm just saying that those areas are generally less populated in that, and by doing this would be one way that you'd be increased.
That area, that 3-day period. Okay.
But they're not going to have to go through a rezoning process or something like that, where then the public are notified, and that it could catch some people off guard. Yeah, there's no problem with the.
Yes, go ahead, Doug.
We're looking at their proposal for get an opinion at this time.
No, and then they're opposed in that. So, yep, because, it's tough for us and that as staff to take and get it right, if you will, and that. So we don't really know what they want. It's hard for us to start. If I was to create a list here and that, it'd look much different than what's here, but we took and we got the first comments from Mayor Isaacson. And that when they first proposed this, that's what kind of generated this other 8 in that we had. And that's what we brought to you. And then we sent it back to them, and that's what we're going through right now is their comments. I know that there was some liability concerns brought up, and Sylvia did provide us with a legal memo in that 2013 Act 269. And if we get into our definitions here, or and that they actually define a few things in Act 69, and this is about the limited liability and that for the agritourism. And basically, it means that if they put up their sign, and if they take and try to keep everything well maintained, so that they're not purposely trying to hurt the people that are coming out there, that this is supposed to apply for some of their liability.
It indemnifies them.
Yeah.
Any liability.
Not us, basically, with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so they do something.
Not
Yeah.
an attorney and that. So Yep.
So they seem to be okay then getting the temporary permit every weekend, if, so to speak, or?
We were.
I don't have the email,
Okay.
but Brian's here.
Just to turn it over to Brian, he reached out to the state and that on the agritourism stuff and got some guidance back from them.
Okay, am I okay here?
Yes, go ahead.
Yep, okay.
You're good.
All right, so I ran this past them and it took them a while to come to some decisions on it, but it sounds like there's two options for them. They can either do a special event campground license, and that license is really for fairs, festivals, carnies, things like that. But they said that they would allow that, and it's good for 14 days, not 7. And it would be $193 each 14 days to do that. So if they did one and waited 2 weeks and then did another, that would be a separate. So if they did them concurrent within 14 days, they could do 2, 1. They would get by without having to meet some of the standards of the campground code by doing that, but it would be quite expensive. What the state is suggesting is that what they could do is do something that's been done in other parts of the state. It's called a harvest host model. And in that, they still have to meet the requirements of Chapter 79, the campground code, but there are 4 things that are the major hurdles to stopping somebody like this from operating. There's ways around it. So the first one is they suggest that they have to get a conditional use permit or a CUP at each of these places to allow them to be used as a campground at private residence. And they suggested that pretty much regardless of what the zoning code is, whether it's residential, agricultural, but that way you can do specific requirements on each of those depending on their situation. The second thing is the potable water source. So they do have to have potable water, so they would have to give us an annual test for bacteria. I would say at least a one-time test for nitrate, because these are farm communities that have been pumping anhydrous in the ground for the last 50 years, and we want to get that tested too, if it's for the public. They would get it tested, and then they would have to have potable water within 400 feet of the farthest campsite. And they said it could be a hose bib, a hand pump. It could even be access to the house or a faucet on the outside of the house, but within 400 square feet or linear feet. But they can't use water coolers or bottled water, which they could use with a special event license. So they would have to provide water. The third thing is the toilet requirement. So if these are independent, so it'd be the pop-ups or the RV trailers, they still have to have 2 toilets available at all times during the event. And they said that they would allow them to use porta potties or portable toilets for that, but they would have to have 2. If they did dependent campgrounds, so if they did tents, things that weren't self-contained, which it sounds like they're striking that, but if they did, they would have to have 4 porta potties for dependents, but the state would be willing to look at giving them a variance if that was too much, because there's only 3 sites. But they would have to get a variance through me, through the state, to do that. And then the fourth thing is the sanitary dump station. So all campgrounds that have independent campers are required to have a sanitary dump station, 1 for every, I believe, 125 sites. They can get a variance through the state for that, as long as there's basically 4 requirements for that. So as long as they have 20 or fewer campsites, which they would have, the distance to the nearest other sanitary dump station is within 25 miles, and it's available when they're operating. And they have a written agreement that allows campers who stay there to dispose of their wastewater at the dump station, and provides a copy of that agreement to the Department of North's agent. So those are the usual big hurdles that you would have for something like this, and there's a way they could do it. Then their license fee would be $193 annually instead of every 14 days. But keep in mind that that annual license technically allows them to operate every single day of the year, because it's an annual permit. There's no limitation on that. Would be something you would have to do here. enforce it through this agency, because our license allows 365.
That would be the conditional use. We would put the restriction there on that.
That would be,
That's where we, case by case, so we can catch that part there. So that would help.
they do have an option to go either direction. One is much cheaper. They just have to, in the variance, probably within 10 days, maybe a month, probably sooner. It depends on if there's any issues, but once we get a variance that goes through, they can pretty much use that as a template.
For each one.
They each would have to get a separate
They each
template
have
for
to
each
get
license.
one.
And then they would be inspected by our office once annually. The temporaries, if they did the special event one, we would probably inspect the site the first time, and then they could apply for licenses after that. And then it would just be on complaint basis, or if we felt there was an issue with it, something that we needed to check, we wouldn't have the manpower to go out 12 times if there's 24 weeks.
24,
right?
30 of
So
them,
we
yeah.
couldn't do that, but we'd still do our due diligence, to make sure it's safe.
Right. So we should have you probably write those two up to kind of give them two options. You know what I'm saying? And send them back to them. And I'm thinking most of them will go to that second one. And then with the conditional use, what costs there? That would be a yearly one, or that
That's a one-time and done, and
One
that's a
time.
conditional use. And then after that hearing, then they pull a one-time permit for $400, and that to be able to operate that use. So the $750 is our hearing fee, and that to basically cover cost of holding the hearing. And then the permit that we issue after the hearing, that's our tool for actually enforcing any conditions that the committee might put on it, because that's our ability to revoke that permit.
Each one would do that. Each farm would go through that process.
Of $150 through the zoning side.
And then that health, 193 or whichever
Yeah.
one.
But then if they do it a second year, it would be much cheaper the second year. It'd be 193 with us, plus whatever the fee you have for the.
Not
Usually,
the
if you guys put an annual permit on it at that point.
They wouldn't have to go through
any
the,
the next year.
they wouldn't have to go through the company.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to go through the
So
conditional.
for long term, it would be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, to do the second.
So with the harvest host permit and the second one, that realistically just turns them into a year-round campground.
Up to 25 sites. So it allows them to do up to 25 sites, but then you're
The
covered with-
CUP, yeah.
The CUP would do, would have the set of three, the 25-week or ends or something. We'd go that. At least we'd have control, put conditions on there. That would meet some of their stuff too, without tents and stuff and that would be nice. Check, see if there's tents and all that stuff.
But that's the way the committee would like to go, and that really simplifies the ordinance amendments. We don't have to specify 1 through 8 as far as conditions. And that we could pick zoning districts and then put, a campground, maybe limited to X number of sites as a conditional use in that district. You wouldn't have to limit it either in that, but, you're just kind of mixing a commercial use that's generally found in a commercial district. So I know Burnett County's got one where they do have campgrounds for less than 25 sites and that in some of their ag classifications. Usually as primitive type.
Now, so we're looking at, we'd still leave the, that it's for education and some of that thing too. So what, we decide the 3 acres, some are down to 3 acres, is all, aren't they? Some of these places, they're not very big.
Well, our travel trailer parks and that requires a 5 acre.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe some of the properties in that are small lots, so down to an acre.
That we can address that with the CUP also, couldn't we? Say if they only got 1 acre, we would say they can only have
Don't
one,
put a minimum
trailer,
acreage requirement in there, yeah.
something like that. So each one would be specific anyway with the conditional use. Some stuff on each one.
Campground as a conditional use, And then if
Yeah.
you wanted to take and have, a limit on the total number of sites, you could do it. So,
Do something like
Would it
that.
be helpful to memorialize these conditions along with the CUP requirement?
Oh, yeah, they would be,
No, go ahead. And then I'll-
they should, yeah, we should have just a general list to see if they'd even want to do it. I mean, we have to have something in there to say, okay, here's kind of some of the minimum standards, yeah,
Yeah, so we have minimum standards. You have to do this to even really
apply.
apply for a CUP, and then over and above that, there would be whatever the committee puts on any individual one, but no matter who it was, it would be like, here's the 8 things that you have to do. You have to have 3 acres and whatever the number is.
Yeah,
It'd be a maximum number of trailers, perhaps, whatever.
That with the special event. license too. List of
of the
kind of
things too,
exact
minimum,
seat.
yeah. I think we,
kind of what we were doing with this amendment is just to try to get it so it'd be an administrative permitted use in that, because I believe in that they didn't want to jump through the normal campground procedures to take and do that. So that's where we were trying to craft language that would kind of lay out the prerequisites. Okay, if you follow these X, Y, Z conditions, you can do this. And then it would shift right over to Brian, and then it just goes temporary. So
that would be that,
now
in that first option.
So, yeah, so
That
for a
they become-
special event, it would just be, here's the things you have to do. And if you do these things, here's,
do that, and you can do a condition. I mean, that'd be kind of like our tourist rooming house stuff.
Yeah.
At that point, then we've got a whole list of conditions, and that update what's permitted use for 8 people.
And they have to have Brian's permit to get your permit, they both
Yeah,
go together.
but I mean, that way,
That
you
harvest
have-
one, we could do that.
whoever the individual was, they'd have the choice of,
Going either
do I
way.
want to go all the way, or do I just, want to do a special event? Because I'm only going to do it 2 weekends a year.
Yeah, then they might just, at harvest time, somebody might just want the last 2 weekends or something instead of all summer long. Like some of the apple farms or something. That 2 weekend. Not want to do that whole year thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least we get,
But I-
that would be the 2 options then.
Yeah, I think spell the 2 options out plainly as to what they have to do, kind of, and
Minimum standards, and then like when Brian went through his list, if you do take that one, here's what you do have to do for him. But we'd maybe put that in ours to go to see him, but we would list that a little bit so people would see that.
right. And I think even it could be in ours, but it could be like Department of Health requires
Yes.
these things, these
They can reach
things.
it all in one place.
Right. So
And
yeah,
then
so it
they-
isn't like,
They
well,
can-
we didn't know we had to go to the Department of Health. Nope,
Yeah.
it'd be like, here's what zoning requires, here's what the Department of Health requires for each option, kind of. So it's all on the same piece of paper when.
That makes
They would
sense.
read it, they would ask you, and then they wouldn't have to run and ask Brian, what do you require now and stuff. We could maybe get them. But we're not doing that much.
We could put a list together. There's a couple of little things that are gonna pop up, like, for us, they can't have more than 20 campsites per acre.
Yeah.
So we allow for a smaller amount by statute. But there's also something that the campsite cannot be located within 100 feet of a barn or enclosure housing an animal, petting zoo, or any other source of odors or flies. So that might be an issue on a farm, depending on where they place it, but that would be a requirement.
And that would be in that list, so they could read that and go out there and actually measure their place to see what will work for them, instead of getting a permit and then it doesn't work.
And we could come up with, like I say, a list of those just set forth with reference in the code that they could look up to
Sure.
see, and then we could just provide that.
Yeah, that would be good, I think. Go ahead, Doug.
I think you're right, Brian, we need to get this list, and we can work into conditional use later.
Yeah,
They need to look at a list and say, look, where porta potty. I'm looking at expenses, and then at the end, maybe they just say it isn't worth it.
yeah,
Right.
before they get the permit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're talking $100 a month. Need 2, that's $200.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it does, yeah, it doesn't work out.
But this way they could see the
See
requirement
it
and
before
maybe
they have-
come back and say, yeah, it isn't, you know.
Financially, we just can't make it
Yeah,
work.
it's,
It
yeah,
just
you
can't.
push the pencil and it doesn't work, or it does, but, you know, we'd like one option or both or whatever.
So, is it $750 and a $50? Like to get them to look at it before they get that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's our biggest thing is get them to know what they're stepping into.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, because there's quite a bit of expense other than the 750. So it's like, if I want to spend the 750, I know I gotta take these other steps that are gonna cost me another 2,500 maybe. Yeah,
It's for a year though, at
Just
least
spell
then, and
out,
then
that's all.
the next year, they might have to have, their business plan that first year, they might break. Second
First
year,
year
that
would
would,
be much higher.
yeah, because the next year you'd only have Brian's.
Yeah.
So,
They should know all that.
Yep.
upfront.
Yep.
yeah.
and
And it might
that's
be-
where if it got on it, here's what you need for the special event, here's what you need for harvest host and,
Yeah,
you know, everything got laid out as best we could. Why then it's, you know,
and
the
we're staying,
options are there. You get to
we're
look at.
trying to stay within the state codes and keep it all, the sanitary ones and everything else. Keep it.
Well, if I'm hearing you correct, you'd like to have one use, if I may call it a, special temporary camper as a permitted use. And then you'd like to have another harvest host, whatever kind of use.
Special event.
And then that would be a CUP.
The second one.
Well,
would be
they're
the
gonna
state.
require the CUP on the harvest host.
Harvest host would be the
The special
Yeah.
event one would be
Yeah, so like the special event one, we would just put
these limits.
certain limits and they could just come in and get a permit. It'd just be like, here it is. It's for the,
For the 14 days.
the week of the 14th.
So what would our trigger be in that from stopping them from coming in and pulling 12 temporary permits through Brian versus going through and saying the CUP route? And that it's just going to be that it's going to be cheaper for them and that financially, or I mean,
I think
like the
so.
tourist rooming house stuff, there's occupancy.
Yeah.
Is there a number of travel trailers that you're thinking on, or is?
Well, I think, I
What's
mean,
gonna be
I'll
the
just say, I think I get it. It's their wish list, but 24 weekends isn't a wish list to me. It's like asking for everything because 24 weekends is,
6 months.
Yeah.
well, yeah, a normal campground isn't hardly open for 6 months of the year, in this part of the world. So, it's, I'm not saying 3 is right, but I'm saying 24 is wrong. So I think we set that number, but until we find out what they want, I don't know it matters if we set a number.
14,
Yeah,
for April.
would still be enough,
Somewhere.
but they'd still have to buy at 193 a time to get a permit. Holy man, that's going to add up pretty fast.
But I think,
Let's
It's just, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to write it in my head.
split them up.
right now.
Yeah, that's,
And then
yeah.
because, well, if you don't want to pay the public health fees, then you go and do this option. I don't know how you do that in the ordinance. I think you could definitely do it on the number of weekends. And that, I mean, if you want to take and use it for, 4 weekends or 5 weekends a year, and that as a permitted use, and that, if you want to take and go to 15 weekends a year, and that, then that's a conditional use. I mean, I think you can definitely do it on that. I think you can do it on a number of travel trailers,
Like, personal thing, if they campground units or tents, and there seems like they would want that.
Yeah, and I think that's where they put into this comment over here. That was not me that crossed that out,
See, that's when the water kicks in and all the toilets and all that kicks in if you have tents. That kicks in
Yeah.
pretty big at the health club. If you try to do a campground.
Well, it would have taken double the number of porta potties, right?
Double the number of porta
They
potties.
still have to
The
provide
4.
potable water.
In water, yeah.
I'd like to see that be their choice. I don't think that you say that, like even with conditional use, 3 tents.
That would be, that's what
But then
Brian
there-
referred to the state stuff. That they
But
could,
then do we,
Gives them the option then.
but then do we say that there's just stick with kind of the 3 campers, a weekend? Do we say that there's a limit to the number of people? Because I don't know anything about them, but somebody said last month, I think you can pack 6 or 8 into some of these, so are we
Into a
going to say
camper,
that,
yeah.
well, you can put 24 people in, and as long as you can drive it in and get them all in the camper, you can put tents up for them. I think.
guess I see, because you could have a big event, but just saying, well, then limit the number of people that can be there, like we do. at
Right,
church.
but that's what I'm saying. So it's like sticking, but just using the 3 campers as an example. Do you say there's an 8-person maximum? Is it a 10? There again, not as right or wrong, but what is, if all of a sudden it's on a 3-acre parcel, let's say, you bring 3 campers in and they've all got 6 or 8 people in them, you got a lot of people in that 3-acre parcel.
Statutory requirement is that it's limited to 6 per site for people.
Okay.
So that's the standard. If you need to get more specific than that, for licensing, it allows 6 people per site, overnight stay.
Yeah.
A lot of people sit around the campfire all night long, doesn't matter, but.
yeah,
Yeah, or you could have a small pop-up and then sometimes they'll allow a second one or a tent with that, but the standard is number.
so there is a deal. So there is a 6-person limit, so we don't have to make a number up. It's already in the
Think of
state.
these things, Brad, but you could have
30.
It's the same
No,
people.
absolutely. Yeah, I
a
don't,
little, one of them,
Yeah.
you don't think of.
Whatever, yeah.
Some of them go with 6 and.
so is it 6 per camper? That's
Per
6
site.
per site.
Per site.
So if you have 3 campsites, you got 18 people.
And I just had a question too, just for my clarification, because I'm not completely sure what this body does. Do you have the ability to just require them to just go the CUP route and the annual license and forget about the other portion of it? I mean, you
Yeah,
have,
special event.
yeah,
Yeah, we did a special event out, yeah.
because I mean, I know it's more expensive the first time, but it simplifies so much down the road to get the variance. And then it's just an annual fee and easier for us for inspections. And it's just rather than trying to have them have to come in and reapply every 14 days, and this one does 2 weekends here and that one there. I mean, it's whatever you want to offer them, but it just, to me, it seems like the best solution that the state offered. And they said really that the special event campground doesn't really pertain to these because it's not during a festival like Rutabaga Days or something
Yeah.
going on. They're making their own event. And
Okay.
they said that they would allow that, but I'm just thinking.
We almost need a per host. So
gosh.
you knew, are they coming in to get their permit every 14
That
days?
might be better to
or-
just eliminate it then and go this way, so then we're done. Just
Administratively, and then
easier too.
I could see it taking a lot of our time. And
Yep.
that because if we have a 3-night stay, that means that we could end up, if we had an active complaint going on a property, we could end up sending somebody out there every 3 days to verify which trailers are there today. Are they gone in 3 days? Or are they not?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So That's,
Like the
and
parking
then
meter
if
lady
you have
with the
that,
chalk on the
24 weekends out of the year, 24 different properties that are proposed right now, I mean, that's a lot of staff time.
Yeah.
Plus, it just seems like you have a lot more control over the CUP individual basis rather than a special event where it's just allowed and.
Yeah. And they just think of it in the middle of the summer. Oh, we want a special event. We'll come and get a permit. Yeah, it might be easier to go that way and not even put that in there. Well, maybe just stick with that part
A
there.
recommendation, Mr. Chair. But
We
like
can
I mentioned
recommend-
before, and that we do have the MUD and the condo provisions coming and that, and we also looked at the campground provisions, just because that's something that a lot of other counties are seeing high pressure on as well. it might be a good time to take and look at those proposals and that on how the campground stuff is gonna change. And then see if any of that fits what you're looking
And
at.
then this fits in with it.
Because it'd be a nice list to start with at least, and then you could X or add, whatever you want.
Sure.
That you could still create an agritourism campground, provision, but.
That would cover
give you
this
some
stuff.
ideas.
Okay. We
Like I
should
said,
probably
hopefully we
do
would
that.
have that.
Oh, in January, okay. That's still a good timeline then.
But then we'd still want to get the kind of the guidelines out to them for the harvest host so that they could see,
Here's what we're looking at,
Here's-
what public health came up with.
yeah, here's the minimum standards, or,
Yep.
here's where you have to be from day one kind of, and then whatever the CUP would,
Do.
restrict
I
one.
can transfer over some of the common stuff that I would say that is coming out of our campground stuff. You would still create a separate use in
Sure.
that agritourism.
Yep. And have that's separate section. Because, yeah, they might have to, business-wise, look at a 2-year thing, because the first year, all the permits, second year. But I think, like Brian said, that every 2 weeks, it'd be a
That's too much.
disaster.
Well, if
That's
you
a
had
lot of their staff time, too. I mean, he's gotta go out there
Yeah,
every other week.
24 farms, and they had to take and
I think it's up to
go for
32.
24 weeks a year, and they needed permits from Brian, and then on the temporary one,
Jesus.
it'd be 288 permits a year that you have to issue. 24 farms.
So not to muddy the waters or anything.
Make a good money.
We don't want them on.
We are. Money a lot. Make a good
But
money.
what if the special event permits were limited to one a year? So if somebody just wanted to say, for the next 2 weeks, I want to bring them into the apple orchard, or,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you could do it, but you would be limited to one a year. So you'd get realistically 2 weekends.
Sure.
And you wouldn't have to spend, I'll say, all that money, but it would truly be limited at that point, because you go pull the one permit, that's all you're gonna get.
That would keep that down at least.
The only thing is you would lose some of that enforcement stuff that you would have in a CUP. So it would almost have to be listed like you were doing here then.
Yeah, and
It's
it
still
would have to be
So then
listed
you'd have to
out.
Put that back again.
Yeah,
But
we'd have to put those 8 or whatever minimum standards, even to
Yeah.
get that, yes, to keep all those in there.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a way somebody just wanted, 2 weekends a year to still be able to do it, but knowing that I gotta pick my 2 weekends, because that's it. They're 2 weekends in a row.
Easy to separate out because it's back to the number. And that's similar to tourism. Full 8 weekends, just throwing that out there, and that conditional use. So it can be 1 weekend, and that anything more than 1 weekend, or one permit.
One permit.
weekend, and that is. Yep, that's easy.
Okay. Yeah, then they still have that
It's
option.
measurable,
I got-
and otherwise it's hard to take and say, well, how many permits have you pulled through Brian,
Yeah.
I gotta work harder if Jason says it's easy.
Graph that. Yep. We'll go from there. We'll bring back those campground amendments when they're done. Like I said, I don't know if they'll be first or second meeting. And I'll try to take and have some proposals for these 2 different types.
For 2 different kinds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll go 2 weekends and then anything more.
Because in Burnett County, campgrounds are a pretty hot issue.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yep.
It's,
Yep. So like I said, they're the ones that took and had an ad hoc committee and that all set up just to work on campground text and language. And so that's what I'm going to try to propose to you guys, and then just say, here you go, you can do what you want with it. If you want to look at it, fine. If you don't, that's fine.
I think we should look at
500 units. It's on zone.
And Lake,
500. 500 units. They have been a couple spots.
That's part of it, and that kind of going back to like the Powderwood issue, you got higher density on the lakes, more people using shoreline, Sure. And zoning's a proactive thing, not a retro.
Okay.
And the last thing, and if you give us a timeline when you want some of that stuff, like you talked about the list, just so I have a date to put out there, we'll make sure you get it
Okay.
by that.
Yeah.
You said the first meeting in January, first or second meeting in January.
Yep, so just let me know when you need it by, and then, so that we get it into our schedule.
So that
And then-
gives you
Yep.
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
And then lastly, I just wanted to introduce Jacob Van Hookloom. Patty, my assistant, retired after 16 years in
Retired.
September. I know. And so we hired Jacob, and he is a new guy. He's a registered sanitarian and can be another me
Okay.
completely. And hopefully if I keel over or retire, there you go. So there he is. So I just
If you
wanted.
write it up, we'll know how damn good he is. All right, thank you.
So then you'll get them out to Sylvia so she can get them out to their people and you can send them to us.
No, the language has already been drafted on a lot of that campground. I'll have to do this now, and that, but we want to work on it as our internal work group and that to kind of refine some of the language in that. And then after that, we can get it up to you guys.
And those guys too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Good. Thanks.
thank you. So. Do we need a short break before the trail stuff? It's gonna be a while, isn't it? A little bit. 6 option. Let's just take a short break here. That's about all we got left, isn't it? Yeah. It'll take a little bit. Let's stretch for 5 minutes.
Update on the cat. I'm sure it'll be in by the time we're done.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but if you're gonna ask me to guess, I'm gonna say 75. I think you're 75. I just look at how long you've been retired. Yeah.
Maybe it'll come back up.
Oh, yeah, I know they do.
Kennel cows.
I gotta go, they're starting again. But, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.
We're gonna mention those awards at the county board meeting. We gave out.
Part of the administrator's report.
That would kind of be nice. Yeah, the winners and stuff of that. That'd be kind of nice at the board to be. Of those awards, that we didn't even have press yet.
Right.
Press to show our meetings anymore. Would have been nice. The county board just to mention it too. I think.
I know.
All right, maybe Eric could get them together and farm down there and get together or something.
Can ask them.
You know, of everybody, where they're, at least they're all local.
Yeah. Just let us. Okay. Cut us loose on your presentation, Tim.
All right. Well, welcome. Good to see everyone. As usual, I guess just to start this thing off, just recap a little bit of how we got here. Come a long way. This has been quite a year for trail and trail recreation planning in the county. We've gone through a bunch of input processes that involve stakeholder meetings, an online survey, and the web map. Got thousands of comments out of that. We got user goals and needs. Based on that information, we turned some of that into projects that reflected those goals and needs. Those top projects were refined and passed on from PTAG up to you guys, and then through general government and county board. And you adopted those projects and got some funding for them in the year 2022 and going forward. So first of all, thank you for all your work and getting us to this point. Now we have a draft plan for you guys. I know there are a few hiccups, I guess, getting it out. It's tough with a plan that's this size and this graphic intensive to get it out. But if you ever have any issues getting documents, please let me know and we'll get it to you some way, somehow. Hopefully everybody got it. So today's meeting or today's purpose is we're going to go through the top 6 projects. So in the scope of work for Alta, they were going to identify a top project for each of the 6 identified user groups and further flesh that out with giving some conceptual site drawings and some planning level cost estimates and those kinds of things. And that's kind of the main thing that's happened since you guys have adopted these and given us some funding figures for that, because that concepts have been fleshed out along with the draft plans. Today, we're kind of going over that. We're going to focus mostly on those concepts. I'll talk to you about what PTAG had to say on Monday about these concepts. And again, I just want to reiterate that these are 50,000 foot kind of conceptual drawings. So all the nitty gritty details haven't for sure been ironed out. The costing hasn't been certainly ironed out. And as we move forward to implementing these projects and getting them towards RFPs, then those cost estimates and the exact committees will get built down. Okay, so just a quick reminder of what happened county board funding wise. We've got $1.45 million for 13 projects. You can see the ones in the dark colors up here. These are the top priority projects in the city. There are state funds available and some other grant funds, DOT and TAP funds available that could help shrink these project costs down. A lot of the motorized stuff is about 50%, maybe more, depending on the project. Sometimes that stuff is more fundable than that. So, get right into these projects, unless you guys have any questions going forward here.
First thing is to let everybody know that this money's already it's in the budget.
Yep. So,
And now when these prices go out, I mean, it'll get better refined, I guess, unless we do that on each one. But just because Mo and them will put out these RFPs, a lot of these dollar amounts will be less, plus there's funding. So the money left over moves down because there's 13 projects. But the top 6 is to start with, and then we start moving down the line as we can.
allocated amount for each of these individual
Yes.
projects, so that's shown.
Right here, yeah.
Each slide as we go through, the project will have like the county funding amount. in it.
Correct. Okay.
So, and then we obviously understand we need to stay within budget. These are conceptual ideas to say like, this is what was drawn up, this is a potential way that for example, the ATV routes could go forward, and then the next slide will be where this intensive use area, conceptual ideas for that about the routes for the different trails or options in that intensive use area, and then some of the amenities like parking and that.
Hey, Tim, I'm gonna give you, that, you don't have to back up, but that last slide you had up,
Yeah.
is that in our packet? Because I never seen it.
That one is not.
That's actually the park CIP for 2022.
Oh,
We didn't
okay.
provide
So
it.
it's not in the okay, no, that's fine. I was just,
No, it isn't in it.
That's in the capital improvement plan for parks and trails.
Parks and Trails.
2022.
okay.
Yep.
So again, just
That'll
to
get us a copy.
refresh on
Marks will get us a copy of the CIP.
this entire project.
You want it? Okay.
Not now, but
We good?
yeah.
All right. So for the total project, county funds that are available are 250,000. Again, since this is motorized, potential for $250,000, maybe more, for the project funding for this project. Some of the breakdown that we've seen, at least in the planning estimates that Alta has given us, about 100K for the trail development and 75,000 for the intensive use area with amenities. And I mean, Mo and Ben and those guys in the public works department are already working on that ATV trail route and connecting all those pieces. Would be other loops. So a lot of the focus of this has been on the. So some of you might be familiar. There's one over in Barron County. We sent some pictures of that over to Alta, have them review and give them some ideas for this concept. These are the comments that came from ETAG. Before I get into that, I'll just showcase a few of the amenities that Alta put together for us. So this is a connecting piece for an ATV trail. They can also connect up on Evergreen, right on the roads already. One of the comments, we have a parking facility here, angled parking with trailers, pavilion, central washing station, loading ramp, and then a staging area. Put it, and then looks like three different ability levels type trails. So easiest in the middle, then conceptual middle is kind of more difficult, and then the outer one is most. Those are kind of the layout of this. One of the comments that PTAG had is that we've got some neighbors here, some residential neighbors, and the property just to the east, the 40 to the east, is still county owned. So they were talking, maybe we should shift it over just to give some buffer. This facility and the neighbors. They also felt like keeping it on Evergreen. It's a pretty major thoroughfare up there, as major as it gets in the town of Sterling. Would be good for convenience, visibility, and access, especially for vehicles. If we moved it over one parcel to the east, then there's no road frontage on the western boundary here, so this parking lot would get eliminated. We felt like this one area would be plenty. And just making sure that these parking spots are perfectly pull in, pull out, so just pull through spots, so, you know, they just turn around without having to back up or do anything like that, and then making sure that they're appropriately sized. Some of these drawings that had 10 by 40 parking spots for these trailer sets, and they felt like that was not big enough for today's race. Minimum of 12 feet wide by 50.
Also, PTAG also eliminates the loading ramp. That could be problematic. People wanting to jump off them, yeah. So we thought that was a liability that these PTAG recommended we remove the loading.
They shrunk this storage and restroom facility down to. There was no need for storage out there at all. So Availability of restroom is still there, washing station, that should go away. In fact, there's debate about whether water should be included and only at a certain, I think they said 10K, that's just spitball, but only for if it was reasonably priced. Water units.
Well,
Yeah,
because
the
they
well
have to put a
cost.
well in. So, before we move,
You want me to go through them all?
no, let's stop right now
Okay.
on this one. And for us then is to give Mo that we should move it. Parking spots. I don't know if we had a well in that place and everything. If it's over 10K, they kind of want to just take the washing station stuff.
Yeah, I think at this point here, because, my staff, we're gonna meet with Bob's staff too, and, look at these projects we've started on some of the projects of what we're gonna do in-house and what we're gonna, farm out for design and stuff on making street parks so that we don't, make the same mistakes as other counties have with them. So at this point, I'd agree with you on, we'll just take down the options and stuff and, the notes on it.
And go
With that.
Okay.
Come back is the 40 to the east there, particularly hasn't been concreted in that's the spot where it's going, correct?
Right, well, it still needs to be cleared and there's some relief there, but that was the recommendation to look at the 40 to the east for safety reasons.
For noise to the neighbors to the west and north. There's a few houses there, so it would echo pretty loud in there. So that's why they want to move it 40 over would probably eliminate a lot of the noise or at least knock it down.
Buffer it, yep.
Right.
But we still needed the frontage on Evergreen.
Yep.
If the cost of a well was too high to take it out, it would save a parking lot. So I mean, this one, after everything, I think that would, and the spots and the angle, of course, we've looked at different parking lots, almost all of them are angled, right? But I'm wondering if we get a deal for a restroom, we don't have to get special plans for them. We got restrooms everywhere. If we can get a plan that work for more than one area. Sign it once. You know what I mean? Like the D.D. Kenny warming house is that. They want restrooms here and there. We should get one design and kind of.
Depends what type of restroom we install there,
Yeah.
whether it's necessary to have water there or
Yeah,
not,
if we have water, sure.
or they're just the basic upcut
Yeah.
concrete.
With a pit that you pump out and stuff.
Correct.
Okay. Because otherwise you got to heat them year round. So.
An
What's the
important,
other?
important piece to all this is, PTAG did the visioning, identified and prioritized all the projects. On Monday, they took a step further, downsized these projects. We still have to confirm Alta's numbers. But really, an outcome for today is to get your endorsement for these changes. There's going to be other opportunities to modify each of these projects.
After the bid process comes in.
Right.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
just to stay on task, it's our hope that, after Tim runs through these projects, if you have any other thoughts about adding or subtracting amenities, this is the time. But it's our hope, again, to stay on task, that we get your endorsement today so we can bring the county board and we can get going on this beginning next year. So I just want to reframe
So
that.
so with these changes, that's what we'd ask right now and move this one forward. I think we
Right,
should
you
do
endorse-
individually move it this way. I
You
think.
endorse PTAG's recommendations of downsizing or towards the amenities. And if you have any thoughts as well.
And we can add,
Yeah,
okay.
and then moving this.
So, but all the amenities and everything will be bid out separately, right? So I mean, at the end of the day, we can say, we want it here, but we don't want it here.
Right. So there'll be, in the RFP, when we craft the RFP, they'll be listed as options. So the consultant can come with us with a price, and those will still require, general government and this committee's.
It's already been approved, so then it's just.
And those are the projects that we do bid out. I mean,
Yeah.
Some of these we'll be able to do.
There's still, it checks and balances. But I mean, if a well come in at 50 grand or something, there, we're gonna say.
Oh,
Is,
right.
it was my thought, and that's what I told Pete, I said, holy man, yeah, if a well comes in at 50 grand, we're not gonna put water out there. That's just the way it is.
Because, Alta's these are all conceptual projects. These are all conceptuals. You know, as we look at amenities and what we have here, as you're looking at a conceptual plan that looks really nice with colored asphalt and trees and stuff on it. Myself, I would think Bob and my staff should meet and get together to get down to the nuts and bolts of what the parking lots are going to look like, and have Kirsten or someone do a rough drawing of what those look like with the basic amenities. Because we're not going to, where they talk about plazas and everything at these trailheads that aren't going to be used, it's not really good stewards of the taxpayers' dollar to put those in.
Right.
You know, that's not going to be used. So, you know, I agree we need concurrence that we're going to move forward with these projects. They're budgeted. But I would like to have us, as he goes through and explains them, we'll have staff get together and we'll put together a rough, what we see as the drawing of the actual, what we're going to build out here. So that in January, we can start grubbing these trees out of here and start going with these projects as it's budgeted.
Sure.
So that we're not designing this right now in committee.
No, that's what I was saying, because some of these are 20 by 40 buildings and they don't need storage in this. It'll all get down to the right size.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is required for a
Correct.
sporting area and stuff. So,
And feedback on what's necessary, what isn't,
yeah,
prioritizing the different amenities that are on. That's why we wanted to get PTAG's input, since they're representing the user groups, so get their input on what
Yeah.
these concepts look like and what might need to change.
so right now we want to stay on that. We want to stay on Evergreen. We want to move it east. We'll eliminate the parking, eliminate a loading ramp. The parking will get straightened out, and then water is just a wish list thing if it's under 10,000 or something. So if we can agree on that, this one can go forward.
Well, there again, though, I mean, we'll get, at some point, we're gonna get the bid on the water to say, here's what the
Yeah.
water is.
Yeah, if
And
it's
then
11,
somebody will
fine.
say yes or no. I
If
mean,
it'll fit.
Come back with a recommendation that.
Yeah.
we
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
it's
we'll get-
necessary for that.
Yeah.
Part of the project.
I don't know that area, but it could be the whole shallow well. That's why we just need to know that.
Yeah.
Tim, if that all moves right to that next section or whatever that is, but the red trail that goes up to that little parking spot,
Yep.
does that all go away then?
This is conceptual too. This current trail does not exist as far as I'm aware. It's in the road there.
Yeah, it says proposed access trail.
so now they're side by side 40s, but is one of them, can I say, gonna be way harder to work in than the other one, you know, as far as making trails?
Mark from Forestry didn't think so. There isn't any huge hills up there,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what the four-wheelers want, but I mean, there isn't a lot.
There's
He said the 240s are pretty close to
an
the same.
existing forest road through this.
Yeah, there's a forest road through them both.
This one
Actually, we
has-
brought it up and they're both, and even with elevations, they don't change. They're both, they're pretty much.
So does that little other parking lot stay? Or did that go?
No,
There's no.
there's nothing up there at all.
So that goes, okay.
So this would be.
So that's some cost savings that could go towards water if it was a little
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
or something like that too. So,
And one thing for the committee to consider when you put in a well out there, if it's for the bathrooms, it's one thing. But if you're gonna try to have a public washing station for ATVs, you know, it's out in the middle of the barrens.
You can let it run
It'll be
forever.
unregulated and could have the potential of
running water.
running water for a long time.
Yeah,
And like
It is.
a car wash business.
Yeah,
nearby.
PTAG didn't seem to be supportive of the washing.
If I'm willing to go play in the mud, I'm willing to wash it off when I get.
there's
How
spots.
much can you make mud in the barrens?
It's sand.
No, but can you make a mud bog in the barrens? I mean, it's kind of sandy out there,
Kinda.
you know, so that's all I'm saying is when I seen mud bog in barrens, it's like,
Shitty.
you can see a mud bog in Clam Falls, but I don't know if you can make a mud bog in the barrens.
He's got a pile of it that might go up there.
Uh,
You make them, just like at Trohog, we made them. You dig them, you stripped the mine at Trap Rock and brought the clay and made it. There's spots up there that's clay, they can bring a
Yeah, well,
truck or two.
that's gonna be a lot more expensive than a well, I'm just telling you.
No, no, they got spots, they want to get rid of that stuff. So, okay, how about on this one? The consensus said is to move it to the 40 and with those other recommendations. Right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody feels good about
Yep.
that. Any additional comments on this one? You guys? None, we'll move on. Woodley Dam property. So this is the Snowmobile project. And potential is, so the county funds that were allocated for this project, 150 grand. This is a motorized project. Getting all those actual costs will get featured. Next slide. One of the key features here is the separation between us and the hotel property side. So segregated access, fencing, lighting, actual vegetative buffer alongside. I felt that was important. I felt like these parking spots were not long enough again, wide enough. These are 12 by 40 scoped out here. And 10 by 40 need to be at least 12 feet by 50, potentially longer. They talked about eliminating pedestrian parking up here and the sidewalk that's up here too, and any of this paved area. This is all part of the proposal that was sent our way. Making this area potentially gravel or staging and unloading area to the north here. After you eliminate all this pedestrian parking. And also obviously like it to be pull through, drive through. Again, anytime you're having big rigs with trailers on them, if you can just pull through rather than having to back up anywhere. Recommendation, you can use features like this to kind of guide how the parking goes, put up signage and that kind of stuff. Even with a paved project, like potentially would be here in the winter time, we all know that that stuff's to be covered snow and ice. Yeah.
Trail down to the deal. I don't think they changed that, did they?
No.
That little walking trail.
They scoped out some money for a boat launch here. And I mean, again, this is just gonna be a walk-in, like paddle, like kayak, canoe and kayak, so it doesn't need to be super. That's a future, and any of these projects can be staged, of course, too, or phased in. But make this more several user group friendly, potential trails, I guess, on this property, but making a connection for a potential.
I have a question on that. Would it be in our best interest to have a discussion with the property owner next door to say, here's what we're going to be doing, just so you know, that person might get some ideas to upgrade their facility.
She's funny.
I mean, seriously. Okay, all right. Sorry, I don't know the history behind that other than what I see.
I need the dead horse.
Oh, yeah. All right, honey.
Here it is. Oh.
Right.
You can go beat that dead horse.
Well, it could make somebody money if they had hotel facilities there that were.
It isn't,
They're making money, Sharon.
it's
They're
not
on the
what it,
furries.
it's not a hotel. All right,
All right.
Yeah.
you don't drive by and stop and get a room
No,
there. Okay,
No.
no, it's not that kind of.
it's just how they're getting around the system. So that's the horse you can beat.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
So not that it matters today, but when this parking lot is done, who's gonna take care of it? I mean, is it snowmobilers that are gonna make sure it's plowed? Is it the county that's gonna plow it?
The county, I'd probably suggest to pave the entrance way in off Highway 8 with a smooth transition to get in and off 8. And then primarily the main part of the parking lot will be gravel. If you could separate out parking areas with angled berms or something, but the fence is very important actually. Primarily this will get used during snowmobile season, average of 4 to 5 weeks a year. of snowmobiling, but county staff clear and maintain.
So the fence and lighting were important.
Yes.
And basically the drive-in would be a lot bigger. It would go up along the snowmobile trail so they have room to turn. And then the 5 parking spots would be to the west, kind of along that trail there. Just
Parking
plain,
lot would be bigger, but it'd be gravel, which would offset any cost.
yeah,
I mean,
and have enough room. And then the 5 or 6 parking spots for vehicles would just be way to the west. And that plaza would not be there. And then the toilet facility, I think, is just an option, because that'd be another maintenance thing. So maybe that would get phased in. And,
Seems like on a parking lot. Somewhere.
that's why we wanted some here for the kayaks and
Right,
stuff.
but
some
I'm just
parking
saying,
here.
bathroom,
Bathroom should be, yes,
have to put in there.
a summer use one, but then the snowmobilers in the winter, I mean, it'll be a non-heated one.
Right. It
So-
could just be a,
It'll end up a rest stop kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of like, what's that highway, I think. Basic.
So that's about, I think that's all they said on that one.
Can I ask a question?
Ooh, I don't know.
Okay.
No, we got all our comments. We don't need a debate. It might be good and it might be bad, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, how about this one then with consensus? That one, I think when Mo said they just tar it down that far makes sense, because otherwise, snowmobiles with the carbides and everything tear up.
Yeah.
Extract the tar anyway. So, all right, that's pretty much what they said, wasn't it, too? Okay. Go to H1.
All right, so this is the hiking project, connecting G, Kennedy and Auburn. The concept map, we got some pretty large costs here. Option 1, if you recall, talks about redoing the road and culvert area down here. Significant cost for option 1. Option 2 involves this orange line, which is an existing wintertime easement for cross-country skiing, and trying to negotiate full year-round access via this route. Getting county fund costs. Is based on this. The E-Tech felt like definitely pursue option 2 first. A lot of money to work on the road here. Additional pedestrian access here. They felt like the main vision of expanding and connecting and looping trails in here needs to, you want to reiterate that. Key piece for that would be getting this connection here, pedestrian bridge, because they're currently going up on the road. Off-road as much as possible. We have this crossing established already, and then expanding some routes up in here. Eliminate this. I think it was just an idea of looking at a bunch of vacant land, but apparently it crosses a beaver dam here, so that's not where we're going to be sending people to walk across. So it'd be eliminating this piece. Yeah. Prefer to leave this piece out, focus on getting this new easement done and expanding trail loops up in here.
Oh, in our packet, they pretty much went with option 2, and they still wanted to leave the bridge in there just to get a price. Because he had it priced a 10 by 80 at 180,000. Broke it down with some other, because his contingencies and designs are pretty high on stuff too. But that's about all they changed. They just thought, why fix a road up township and stuff at that high cost?
But that one bridge is included.
That one walking bridge.
Bridge, yeah.
Yep, it's still included. Yep.
Okay.
So that, and then he just gave us that price last night of approximately engineering 20 and 12, so it'd be like 212. part of that cost. If they can save money there, then they would add trails to the north in that loop where he just showed you up there, right there. And I think they've already started looking at some of those. So. Yeah, there's quite a difference, 870 to 320, so 500. So hoping that we would stay with option 2 also was a consensus. Good. Go to the next. Working well.
All right, so this is the Equestrian Project. We're expanding or creating a parking lot down in Wanderers. You need to know that just off screen here, there is small couple car parking area just on the north side of the trail here. That's gravel. $80,000 for this. Well, above what we budgeted. Right? There's existing bathroom and some facilities here, wayfinding, bike racks, and that kind of stuff already existing in this spot right up here. Their comments were that, again, pull in, pull out parking, putting that, backing up stuff, go through the park. Definitely need wider and longer parking spots, like about 16, potentially. You know, pull outs, so tying your horse up on the side, and then these trailers are pushing that pretty angle the parking a little bit more, whether you're coming in this way or this way, just so you can see your flow through. I think this distance between the road and the trail is about 125 feet roughly. Maybe not the widest part to work with, but all of this property for a little ways down here is still state owned. To get the flow.
What brought the cost up so much on this from the original 80,000 for Wanderers parking?
That's what we allocated for. This is just, again, when also scoped this stuff out, they had those figures. Sometimes I don't know how else to say it, we were wondering why they're so high on some of this stuff. But they built it out so that all the amenities are there and that it would be done by a private consulting firm rather than in-house. They were using different figures than we would use.
He had toilets, everything added onto that. And they were already there, but to upgrade and tie downs and all that stuff. So he went with as much as you could possibly do.
So did PTAG want to leave the buffer?
No, this sidewalk area that they have underneath the trees here, they want to eliminate that.
Trees southwest are gone.
It's not.
Yeah, so they were taking the trees or whatever.
The sidewalk.
Oh.
And coming to the southeast, probably. Enough, I think what do they want? Parking for like 10 would be probably the most.
Yeah. And we can move any of this.
So if they can come down to the southeast.
Yeah.
To make it almost like 60 degrees, so you get 3, 4 wide, and they could always pull it in and out, back up. That's what they were.
Design it so it's.
Yeah.
And yeah, we didn't think there were gonna be 20 or 30 parking spots needed for trucks and trailers. Gravel lot, they want to make sure that that was big for first riders. Gravel's definitely preferred for them. Unloading area too.
They park. Non-loading area, you don't see if your bikes or something. Once they park, I don't think anybody.
So what's the final cost on that?
That's what will come back to us without all the amenities.
We got 80 grand.
It'll come back to us.
So it's about 80 grand, but I mean, that's probably what realistically it'll be down to that.
Oh, okay, so
These costs are with all these
All
other
of-
amenities
yeah.
and stuff, which are already there. That's what throws the numbers so high.
Yeah.
I think that's what's got everybody.
There's asphalt costs in there.
there's what?
Asphalt.
Asphalt costs in
Oh,
that
okay.
too. So I mean, it got way high.
all the individual nitty gritty details as to how Alta came up with their 257,000, like, full fuzzy for us.
So that one should be fairly simple. Good on that one? All right.
Well, if it's 80,000, I'm okay, but if it's 348 or 257, I'm not.
Potential, no, we've already allocated the money for it, but they're gonna come RFPs, and if it came at that, then we
Yeah.
get to turn it down.
I mean, we allocated the money at 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that's yes.
All right.
Okay,
We tend to do most of that parking lot in-house, so our only bids are gonna be with limestone that'll come.
yeah, because Trap Rock, they don't want us too sharp.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. This is the biking project. It's in the Gandhi Answer Gateway. Trailhead. 75,000 for the county's available funds. Available state funds, potentially similar amount. One of the key aspects of this project is coordination with the city. This is city property. Down below here is the Dallas House Restaurant Bar, their property, on this property in the south. We talked with city about this in concept and came to learn that they're planning on redoing this parking lot. That would be an opportunity to share and partner with them for cost. They were supportive of this concept. We'll need to go back with them and then get approvals and all that. Another key piece is that realign this trail, and they have a new booster station that needs to get built. So that's one of the reasons why it's in conjunction with this larger building of 20 by 60. They need a 20 by 30 building, I believe, for that booster station. On the other side would be 24/7.
It's a booster station.
Lift
station.
Oh, okay.
Sewer and water.
Okay.
They wanted to align this. Feels like it's better to segregate the two parking lots and align it directly with the existing. They're right now, they're routed up here right along cities, village hall and all that sort of stuff. Again, if this is gonna be a multiple use parking lot, which it is, snowmobilers use this, then these potential lots need to be lengthened and again, provide flow through, but project for biking first and foremost. Through.
So do snowmobiles park there now? I mean, they get on the trail there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I've walked that trail many times. I just didn't know if snowmobiles parked in that parking lot. Snowmobile trailers. Got on the trail. So that building then is not our building that we're building. That's gonna be the city building.
It'll be at least city owned and operated. We got that much.
Cost share with the city, so if the structure allows for an area for their lift station.
Yeah.
We share the cost. Granted, we gotta work with the city some more, present to the plan commission as well. There is sanitary sewer and water out there as well as electric. So this is the one project that is not on county property. So this is basically an intergovernmental effort. Just coincidentally, like Tim mentioned, they are resurfacing their parking lot. They're fine with the new striping because there is a lot of use. This is a high impact project because it applies to all the user groups. So, yeah, and then the crossing on 35, the city's trying to pull a permit to do for a lighted sign or sensors flashing like you see in Barron. So this is kind of just coincidentally a project that the city was planning on doing some improvements out there, adding a lift station. So again, we'll have to work with them and the one thing they offered is the operational maintenance of the bathroom because the big piece to this is the 24/7 bathrooms. As you know, the city hall doesn't open that up 24/7, so they've offered to operate and maintain it, and there's no sense or no need for or concern for vagrancy because the PD is right there too, so.
But we're not putting in like the electric car charging stations. That would be the city.
That is, that's someone's. Yeah, it's the city's idea.
But we're not
We're
gonna
not.
pay for that.
This one car has it in town.
Yeah.
Where did you see that? Was that in the plan?
It's on the left, right
It's
out
on
there.
the plan.
It's on it.
Yeah,
Electric car.
yeah, it's, one person.
Yep.
I'm waiting for that.
Yep.
That's the city. So yeah, like Tim said, we met with the city administrator, the public works director, city council member. If this moves forward, we'll still have to, bring this to plan commission and get their approval and then align their CIP. This might be a more
Tourism, do we rent that part of the building for tourism? How does that work? Does the county rent? Because our Polk County tourism's out of
City
here.
council has MOU with the city
Okay.
to rent that space.
To rent that space.
Yeah, it's a long story.
Real long, but we don't want that, but we know that we're in there.
So
This-
the county,
this-
the county rents that facility?
Part of it,
Yeah, that
Information
built-
council.
for the tourism,
Tourism council
rents it,
rents it from the city.
Who does?
The tourism.
Tourism,
Oh, the tourism council.
rents it from the
we
city.
just subsidize.
This one's gonna be kind of ongoing and open-ended.
This might be a little medium, long-term project
This might be a
because there's a
little
lot more work to do, but it's great to see the city supportive and copacetic, aligning with their improvements that they were planning.
At the same time.
We want to make sure that their parking needs are met too. Their government center there.
It is a high-impact project.
High visible.
Because, serve everyone.
That one we're gonna just
So we budgeted,
open on
that one we budgeted 25,000 for?
100,
175.
available county funds, 175, up on the screen.
Might be 270.
Enhanced St. Croix Falls
Yeah,
County
that's-
Trailhead, 25,000.
175.
500. Well, the budget.
Junction with expansion.
And
That's
it's
two.
working. Oh, I see.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
then
yeah,
it's
yeah,
175,
yeah.
okay. So they're just listed separately here. Okay.
Right. So then they get matching grants, some of that stuff, because there is motorized in that one too, is it not? Considered? I don't know if we can get it or not.
That's in here as well.
That's in there too, okay. Okay. That one's gonna come back more than once. I think.
Yeah. It does get used a lot though.
Oh,
down
it
there.
does, but I mean, it's gonna come back to us once or twice to see how much cost share
Yeah.
and stuff. I think there's quite a bit to do yet on that.
Right, what the city's reaction.
Yeah. All right, we should be good. It didn't change much.
So now,
I don't think they have a lot on that. Didn't mark it up.
Other than they invite us to work with Dan Bailey,
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay.
owner of Doll's House. to see
Yeah,
if
just to
we-
see if they could use that for overflow parking if it ever happened.
it happens. Without the buffer there that's drawn up here, that happens.
Yeah.
It's used for all sorts of. So improving this cross-country ski amenities at DD Kennedy. Couple different options. Mostly involving a warming hut. We would allocate $150,000. Trails for the Bible camp off here, that's a well-established area with some many trails. Back to the existing and expanding, because we're expanding cross-country skiing out there, remember from Stour experience. We noticed that there are snowmobile and grooming equipment as part of the costs that are in here. We already have that stuff. So that can be eliminated. There's a connection trail between the lighted sections at the travel camp and to the location where there's warming cuts. So that would be the only spot where lighting would be proposed for this project. And there isn't a necessity for that warming hut. Things that's
For what?
bathrooms in the warming hut.
Oh, okay.
Just the opportunity for a place to get warm and change at a minimum.
And that, with that one, they wanted to
Use the size of these.
possibly take the old one down, because that's one we see when we went on that walk. The bathrooms, how bad they were. To upgrade those and put the warming up there, because it's gonna have. Be nice to do that now. Look at that, because he's got that warming hut. Like I said, almost 180 a square foot, $180. So I mean, it could almost be done. Because there's sewer water there already.
The existing bathrooms.
Yeah, which that one, that remember it was way tipped, they had to drill holes to let the
Yep.
water run out. It'd be nice to have that one just fixed up with the warming hut right in front. That one.
That's
Then to put a
reasonable.
separate building on some.
Yeah.
And that's close to where the playground equipment's gonna be and stuff too.
Correct. Be nice to update the bathrooms down there for that. There is concern on the warming hut on how future maintenance is gonna be and how to keep vagrants out of that. Time doors or whatever you're gonna do, someone's gonna put a wedge in there and keep them open. You have it on timers, you have to have staff down there before it closes and locks to make sure no one's in there. So there's concerns from a maintenance side that, the possibility of having issues down there, in a secluded area on there.
It's no different than the water earlier that could be left on.
Yeah.
The heat's on, the door's open and it's 20 below. I mean,
Yep.
realistically, you're in the parking lot. The heat is in your vehicle.
Friday night where we.
You know.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so,
some of the issues.
so I would, to me, I look at the warming hut just, well, because of the cost again, but why? I mean, you're back at your vehicle. I mean, it doesn't take that long to kick my skis off and jump in my vehicle and warm up if that's really what I'm there for. I gotta take my skis off and to go in the warming hut too.
It's gonna be a party hut.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
The bathrooms, I think, is a good idea. 'Cause
And our
They need to get
They
done.
need, that does. need to be
Yeah,
great.
there again, I think if you're gonna spend that money, fix the bathrooms and forget about the warming hut, because.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
don't see
Is there an open
They
pavilion there
fix the
now?
bathrooms, right? Yeah.
Yes.
There's an open pavilion, they can have a little bonfire.
Barbecue. Just
Barbecue pits, they can have a little bonfire.
I agree with that. Skip the warming.
That's-
hut.
it's a-
Yeah, it's a can
it's
of
a,
worms.
it's a disaster waiting to happen, and it isn't gonna take long to be a disaster.
No,
It'll
Do
be
a
a big
bathroom
disaster.
upgrade with the warming hut and then split it off just the bathroom. How's that? Does that make sense? I don't know, but that's why I said we get 2 bids. With and without. You know, do the bathroom without the warming part and just see if it's way out of line. But we gotta think of some kind of security, like you said, we're gonna do these things. It's nice
It's
amenities.
just the cost of the warming hut. It's
You gotta
the
eat it.
cost after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, the
forever.
minimal cost is to build it.
Yeah.
The true cost is when I leave the door open.
Yeah,
And,
and the water running there too.
Yeah.
yeah, and the water running there, and
We could look for how other cross-country
Yeah.
ski parks handle their.
Any
warming
part
huts.
for security.
I think there might be, I'm not a cross-country skier. I would think cross-country skiers saw some value and I'd like to investigate.
Yeah, but then if we get a bid both ways, yeah.
Yeah.
At least we can keep it moving, that we know we gotta upgrade the bathrooms. Anyway, because those are closed down in the winter already, I think, aren't they? There's no bathrooms there in the winter.
Right.
So that would be something we'd have to do to update anyway. Maybe
Yeah.
they have to be at 4:30, they get shut down. I mean, that's just,
Maybe the ski club wants to
have
To
some,
have a tenant there during certain hours for a warming facility.
Yeah. I-
So,
You know, there,
yeah,
and I can think big about some of these things, but I would like to investigate all these opportunities for what their potential is. And I look at that area as a prime spot in the winter to have events. Place where people come and do a little competition and you bring hundreds of people into our county. And so that's where I'm thinking, you know, a nice facility that is inviting and a place where the kids can run and get warm might be what they were thinking. I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, but then I come back to Mo, then I think it becomes on the user group, in this case, the cross-country skiers, to say, okay, it's gonna be open on Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to have somebody man it on Saturday and Sunday from noon to 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, I don't know, whatever the hours are, and that's the only time the warming hut's gonna be open. The heat's gonna be shut off, the door's gonna be locked. And then I'm okay with it if it's just open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we're sending a man down to shut it off at 4 o'clock. Well, no, because now we're paying him overtime to get back and,
Yeah.
you know, so, I mean, I think it's one of those things, if it's gonna be, club has to be, whoever it is, has to be responsible and know that going in, you know.
Yeah, that there's somebody kind of checking the park. Yeah, if they're gonna have night skiing and those things, yeah, somebody should have to. It's almost like the ice rinks and stuff. They just say 9 o'clock, we shut the lights and lock the door.
Guaranteeing it.
Yeah,
You won't get a tenant to come down there and do that without them being paid. He does nothing for nothing.
And it's locked at 4.
Set
Good
up a
luck with
camera
that.
in Mr.
Yeah.
Wilson's
What?
But I mean, that's,
house, monitor on his computer. He can come down and whatever.
Claire, one of the following up projects to this is a management plan between all three entities, the town of Garfield, the Bible camp, and the county. So maybe who operates it and where it should be located for a warming hut might be part of it.
well, they'd want it by where you park in the bathrooms. I would think.
so,
We know.
so is there anything on the Bible camp or on the town of Garfield plan in the way of a heartwarming hut already, or?
Bathrooms, no, so that's why they would migrate this way, so they would help, I would think, too, if they want. So if you had a Bible group come out, obviously they're gonna have the chaplain. They would watch it, but I mean, how many people are gonna have a key for it, pretty soon it's not locked again.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, it isn't, I'm not against looking into it, I think it becomes the potential for a real can of worms down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
so anything with water or heated, that would be something we have to just have a security thing to see.
Find out what others, I like the idea, find out what others are.
Doing.
One of those where so often government is known as the institution of can't do this, can't do that, might be a problem. No. I would just like us to have an open mind and consider what's the possibilities here and how can we make it work? That's what I'm trying.
I got an open mind today, check it out.
Yeah.
Month from now, no.
Okay, good.
It's almost like the campgrounds, though, they have somebody camp and stay and watch them, something like that,
Yeah.
you know, on our
I mean,
campground.
It's,
We
yeah,
need
but
something
it
like that.
has to be, all of these have to be the county, if it's cross-country skiers, snowmobilers, four-wheelers, horses, whoever it is, the groups have to be involved in this to say, we got some skin in the game too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and in this case, maybe that's their skin in the game is, if we're gonna have a warming house, we're gonna man, you know.
Yeah, probably would help graffiti and everything else, to know that they don't, it isn't just a sheriff driving through, it could be anybody driving through there is gonna be checking on it. Scares them a hair, not very much,
Not much.
not much, but it
Not-
gives them a
We're
second.
gonna get O'Connell out there with the bazooka on the
Yeah.
front of the truck, and then,
That potato gun first, just better, it just makes so much noise, they're all running. Oh, boom. Okay. So that would help, yeah, and then the lighting, I think, was the thing, they said it just might be a short bit of it or something, that would line up, I think, with the other trip, they wouldn't light up everything, so that's why you wouldn't get a lot of night people, I don't think. Except on a full moon.
but there again, I think that comes back down to, again, is if the skiers want it lighted, that can be something that they look at.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's like,
So
here's the
six
trail, and
feet.
then if you want to light it for at night, as that group, you go find a way to get the trail lighted,
The candlelight deals they have or solar light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Map I've seen. False Lake.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Yeah, a lot of it is. Yeah, over here on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just wanted one to come over here.
Right, I'm just saying,
Kennedy said
that is done already.
The
so-
bathroom. Yeah. They, a couple of the guys that do it said they would like one trail up, get it back over here. Who would they park? There's a lot of park there and over there. So that seemed pretty good then. Okay, that'll move on then. Cool.
With contingencies.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why he's splitting them out so that we know
Got
that.
all our contingencies on there, Mo?
Yeah. Studies are studies. Yeah. Rest. Yes, okay.
Agreed, or possibly get a recommendation or motion.
What's already in there, we just said the changes in to have for the RFPs, and that's, he was sitting here, so he knows what we all said. I don't know, unless we have to rewrite it all. It's already budgeted. So now it's just to get the bids, and when we get the bids back, to go through it this way.
Plan to present this to full county board.
This part too, or do you want to do it after we get some bids? The full board.
It's up to you if you want.
I would think we should get some bids and say, here's what we're really gonna do. We're still on the kind of wish list line. Shouldn't we get the bids and say, okay, here's what we're really gonna do?
Because what was the timeline for getting bids back?
January.
Was it?
No.
Nothing's gone out for bid.
Good.
Not yet. Oh, no, he hasn't written them up yet.
Materials won't go out till, March on this. What I like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd prefer to take this back and for like the parking lots and all that, have Kirsten, do some rough drawings of what we're doing for the projects and come more with these are the projects that are approved. These are what we're gonna be starting to build. At that point, if there's anything you guys want to change, that's great. If not, we're just gonna roll
Start.
forward and start moving.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Because they want to do the trees and stuff in those, this winter when it's froze, get in there, rubbing and doing some of
Right.
that. You know, when there's slower time, you know, with snow. But I think we should bring a product when we get to the county board. More about, here's what we are gonna do. If we show them the wish list, they'll just change it again.
Well, I thought
I think
between
they're not.
now and the January county board, staff can do the, internally, we can do the costing reductions,
Okay.
to match what the local market price.
Oh, sure.
So we have
Okay.
or an actual
Yeah.
number for each project. You know, it's budgeted. It's our job to adhere to the budget. It's our job to apply for grants to subsidize the projects.
Right.
So, you know,
But
I think, you
it's
know,
already approved actually by the county board.
right. So is there a need to even present formally like Tim has to the full county board with updated numbers, or can we just move forward?
I think we don't even have updated numbers. I don't even know if we have to update it
No,
until we
because-
get closer.
Yeah, these numbers from Alta just came last week.
Yeah.
We looked at them. We don't agree with them. Some of them are inflated. A lot of these costs that are incorporated in there from Alta consider engineering costs,
Permits,
contingencies.
high contingencies.
They
Yeah.
don't consider that a lot of these projects, the majority are going to be done internally.
Sure.
And we won't, those costs won't be.
It's high. So what we should do is get those numbers that much closer. We'll look at it again probably. Then it would go down to where the first six, maybe we can do more, you know, move some of the, out of the 13, move some up. I mean, they got quite a bit to do now.
Well, I mean, implement 6 projects next year is going to be.
We're gonna do what we can.
Yeah.
We're gonna do as much as we can and within our budget, and then we'll have an idea what's gonna spill over, if anything, into '23.
For rollover, because if we can,
Are we gonna look at,
How much
say, what
cost
we can
savings
do
from-
internally, go out and grub stumps now, you know, this winter? And then say, okay, here's what we know in January, let's say that we're not gonna be able to do these 6 things throughout these projects. We're just gonna bid them out, so that we actually have a number to come back maybe in late January, early February and say, we put an RFP out on these here jobs and here's what they came back at. You know, just so that we're not waiting until spring to try and find that dirt guy to haul gravel or, you know,
Cement guy to pour
It
the
is
footage.
advantageous to put out bids in the winter. We all know that.
Yeah.
Because people are looking for work. Personally, yeah, we would prefer that, just to give us the green light to again.
I mean, I would
Design.
have no problem if whatever the work was, that it just all went out for bid. Other than what we knew we were gonna do, and that's maybe, you know, getting trees out or, you know, whatever it is. If there's any doubt as to are we gonna do it or is somebody else gonna do it, I think we should put it out for RFP and see what it comes back at, because we can say, this is really too high to pay, or why would we do it if, you know,
He can
Kim
do
is
it for
gonna
that
do it
price,
for, you know, for this little amount. And then we can kind of, can I say, pick and choose what we're gonna do and what somebody else is gonna do. But we would have at that point relatively good numbers as to what everything was gonna cost us. I mean, we're gonna have to hire somebody to build, in theory, the warming, you know,
Bathroom and stuff.
the bathroom, some of that kind of stuff. So I would say get that out on RFPs as soon as possible to get those numbers back and say, okay, here's where
Here's our
we're
starting.
at.
Yep.
You know,
Start somewhere.
okay, this is gone. I mean, the bridge, is it 180,000? Is it 80,000 or 280,000? You know, because we're not gonna build it.
There's
You
a
know.
possibility of putting a culvert in there.
And go across. So,
Across at a different spot.
cross in a different
You're
spot, but
right,
put a culvert.
But
So-
there's not, yeah.
Yeah.
But any of those, yeah, I'm all for the culvert, by the way, over the bridge.
Yep.
How about you? Will you walk across the culvert, Tracy?
Yeah.
All right, that's in just for, don't price the bridge.
Well, they have to compare. So
Yeah,
that the
but
culvert's
you know,
in.
those types of things, I think that kind of stuff, we get the RFP out as soon as possible.
Heard them all. Bid it all out, not for playground.
So our next step is Bo and us.
Yeah.
Together.
Yes, get
It
together.
might be a month from
Identify
now before they
projects
go
that
out,
need to
but
be bid out and projects that we can do internally.
Yep.
It sounds to me you're giving us the green light to
Gosh,
stay
yes.
within budget to pursue projects.
Everything
we
within
can
budget,
do.
yes.
And then those bids, when they're awarded or when they're proposed, open, we would bring them to you for your consideration, whether or not
Yep.
to pursue that or look at if we can do some of the work internally.
Yeah. And I would say err on the side of bidding too much out.
Yeah.
You know,
I just think the main thing is getting of what we want, so we have those concepts, what the parking lots are gonna look like, especially for the Woodley and the one on the Stour.
Yeah. The one
And the
is-
basic ones, we get that drawing down, we can run and push those projects, you know, whether the bid comes in. But if the bid comes in with under budget or over budget, if we can do it cheaper, you know. I don't really feel we need to come back to the committee to get concurrence on our, on that, 'cause it's been budgeted, we're within that
Yeah.
budget. As long as
You can
we're on the
update us on it.
right, we can update you on it, and we're on the same,
Yeah.
we're on the same page of what amenities you want. on
Yes.
it.
right.
Yes. That's, yeah.
That's the
We're going to
main
come and do this formally and all this. Let's get some of the work done
Right.
first.
Because I worry that we'll come back with the plan and that, and it's like, well, I talked to so-and-so, and they said it'd be really nice if we built this.
Yeah.
And we just keep
Add
changing the
this.
project and
Yeah.
add this.
That's,
But this, if it's erroneously over budget, well, then we're gonna come back to committee and say, you know, our 80,000 doesn't cover this because.
Well, and I think more so, I mean, I don't care about a parking lot, just go build it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the warming house, the bathrooms, the well,
the wells.
you know, those kinds of things that realistically are gonna be bid out no matter what.
We're gonna look at a
And a
concrete
lot of-
pretty slab,
Yeah.
ready to go,
Bathrooms.
unit bathrooms that are,
They crane them in.
they crane them in and,
You know, but I mean, then we know how much they are and it's like yes or no and
The maintenance is pretty much whatever you can do to concrete with a knife. Scratch it. Yeah, they're pretty.
I personally like to see Mo's discussion. To draw out what they can do.
Yeah.
Then you, like you say, if you're bringing in trying to put in a bathroom, the parking lot's done.
Yep.
And it's goal for
Yep.
anything we want to do after, as those done, because they're usable. Healthy minute.
And like these guys, you know, they pull their trailers around and stuff, you pull in, that's what you need for parking and to pull out.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious when you put a dump truck in a trailer with on there, it's about almost as big as some of them trailers and stuff. So here's what, you know,
And as far as the Sterling loop goes and grubbing this out, I mean, as depending on what winter does, more snow means more maintenance costs. If you don't have snow, these projects are a good offset.
sure.
So,
Now, are the ATV guys and stuff, you guys gonna go out there too, kind of go through the trails when they do that Sterling Loop? And volunteer to cut wood and all that? Have fun?
Have to bring it up to our committee.
You know, because I mean, do you guys want to kind of walk the trails to it, stuff with Ben and
I
them?
think they pretty well got it set,
Yeah,
what we're gonna do.
okay.
Next year, we figured on going in and
How about for forestry? Do we have Mark? Can they come in and,
Mark's got most of it marked already. Before the Sterling.
do we need a timber bid for that? Is there any timber or most of it's not enough timber to get somebody to bid it?
Most of it is old existing roads that are either grown over or too narrow.
So it's more brush than anything. So we're looking more brush than enough to log
We're gonna feed it in a small dozer.
and go, okay. Oh, cool. Good. Yes, it's moving.
Okay, do we have the next one to go?
Everything, the rest are just,
Those are tier two. So
yeah,
those are,
Those are tier two.
yeah.
Also was
Yeah,
still
plan.
do the top 6 projects. Flesh them out further.
so we gotta jump to those first.
Yep.
There's a lot to do there for a year.
Yeah.
Only if it could be as good as this, get done in the same year. would be cool.
There are other,
You brought that- When did you bring that done? These, March, last March. Wasn't even a year when you got Bone Lake and got this going. So I mean, you brought that meeting, they got it going and they're up in December. That's pretty cool. Unreal that we even got the science made in that. So
Water really helped with that.
those scales really were on it right away, weren't they? I mean, they did good. I thought that was excellent.
we're talking about it.
Okay. Sound good, Tim, for your trail stop?
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much left it way P-TAG on Monday, didn't we? I mean, we didn't,
Yeah, the only thing is the warming cut, I think that's.
Yeah. which we're gonna clean up later anyway.
Not a decision. Yeah.
So it was, yeah, it wasn't, completely voted down, just 85%.
Not today.
Not today. Okay,
Kind of.
We're open-minded today.
yeah. But the next meeting after Christmas, we'll look out.
Look out.
When the bid
Look
comes
out.
back, the door slams shut.
Country ski over the holidays. Maybe
The holidays over.
When the bid comes back, the door slams shut.
Yeah.
Big time.
Old cross-country skiing.
That-
They're
that-
doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I agree.
What did you say?
If they're cold cross-country skiing, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, no kidding. That's why I said that's gonna make us a party place. Get about the skiing.
All right, what do you have left? I mean, their work plan pretty much is just the only thing after the first part is update some of the stuff as it goes on.
Yeah, I guess what I have in my notes is, well, I suppose we'll have Bo back for the 5th. So this is agenda items for January 5th. In regards to zoning, those density requirements, condos and multiple unit developments.
Yeah, the updates on that one, because that was, yeah. I don't know if we're gonna have another meeting before then, Vince. But with the condo deal, it's,
Yeah, we'll have, I think we'll, once Jason and that working committee comes back with their recommendation, we'll probably all,
we do what's,
and then we start bringing it.
all right.
So we're hopeful to have that as an agenda item. sounds like we'll try to get the campground provisions as well as the agritourism amendments together for the 5th. We'll shoot for that.
5th to the 2nd, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we're the second one. The
The
second one's
campground
pretty
stuff.
full, but we're gonna try to shoot for the 5th. I'll talk to Jason. And then,
They both need public hearing.
right, we're just gonna
We want to
bring,
get them both together at the
Right.
condo and the campground stuff.
we still need to
Ag
flush
tourism.
those out.
The three, yeah, okay.
So those minimum standards, 2 options. All that draft ordinance text will be brought to you for your consideration. Let's see. For the work plan, the annual reports. And I'll encourage UW Extension to come for the January 5th meeting as well. So there's that agenda item as well.
Forrester's going to be here.
It's going to be the second meeting.
Second meeting,
Yeah.
okay. Annual report's going to be in January this year, not August. Great.
Those are usually the packets, just our annual,
We usually get them so late, we forgot to even read them.
we'll generate those and put them in the packet.
Thank you. That'll be great.
Oh, and then rules of order that came out of general government or executive. We're going to take a look at that specific to this governing committee. That'll be on the agenda as well.
We should also have rules of responsibility. Those, but we have to have our, we got to update the rule
So now,
of what, who's under us. How we.
you were asked by, is it executive or
Yeah,
general
I think
government?
executive and then. to
Okay,
put it
so
in
yeah.
committee.
Every governing committee was encouraged to look at the rules of order, provide some feedback, update them, things of that nature. So I'll send you the current rules of order. And so that'll be on the agenda. Remember that?
Yep, the rules, because I've already got them marked up.
You do.
To give
Couple
recommendations to the next board.
Yep. Yeah, to give recommendations to the next board. That was executive. They did a bunch, because a lot of it's whale. We got lime quarry in there and all different kinds of stuff. But who's under what, where buildings went, who parks, we got to get all that kind of straightened out. Divisions. So is that kind of Vince, you're going to do our division deals so we know where all this stuff is?
In there, you've got an environmental services committee that pertains to you. I would think you would want to look at it, say, okay, based on what we do, these things accurate, correct, we recommend any changes.
But do we have where we've changed it? Because now extension went to general government, buildings went here.
That's,
Parks,
we'll have to change all
half
those.
parks went here and some parks stay there. I mean,
That's what they're looking for.
so we better find out where it all is right now and then
Right.
is it working, is it not working? And do we put some back here? Do we put some over there?
So yeah, you would highlight, for example, extension, now reporting up to general government. We'll delete that from your.
From ours, put it there, and is it
Yeah.
working, or just the ag agent is gonna come here, do we add? Parks, do we keep part of parks or no part of parks? Building is all under mow,
That's where you recommend it. Next
just
board
to
should
either
decide.
stay or go, but
Yeah.
we should find out from staff too, if what's working, what isn't. Is it too much, because now, like, I think, Bob, you got tax deed. We got that back, and you don't have to do that, okay?
Items we'll talk about on the 5th.
So we'll get all those kind of vetted out, see how our divisions are working to get it. Because they're still changing, aren't they, a little bit? Our divisions kind of, we're moving stuff around.
Pretty solid.
Pretty
now
much
unless
settled
somebody
in.
Comes up and recommends a change. but no,
Okay,
that's-
so then that's what we should know, how we end up with it today. Because the old rules of order don't have half the stuff in there. That's what I think we gotta make sure we kind of know. It's been changed so many times this last 2 years.
No. So the one that, if we look at the rules of order that we have out there now, that isn't necessarily how it is.
No, there's
No.
some resolutions that got changed and stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Ah,
And we didn't really update them enough as we did that.
As an
Buildings
example,
changed,
the
extension,
pension goes to general government and
West Cap,
West Cap.
PC, regional planning.
kinship is gonna be someplace now, right? And
Yeah.
So
So all
those are things that have happened.
outside agencies also got changed.
We're
Yet if
gonna,
I looked at the rules of order now, I wouldn't see that. Those
No.
changes.
No, see, that's why I'm saying we have to kind of have that, see what's working.
that's why we have corporation council.
So like the tax deed came back to our division.
Yeah.
You know, and then planning still, we had, you know, I found a bunch in the policies where that August 1st thing does come up. Where he has to go through and check all our assets and all this. So I mean, some of that we might have to look in the policies where do we push that or hold it to or whatever.
That's the goal for the meeting.
So we should have what everybody has now or thinks they have. Is it working? And then do we leave it? Is what I'm
So
saying.
can we get that?
That's what I'm trying, that's what I'm shooting for right now.
Yeah, I'll send you the current rules of order.
No, I mean,
And I'll-
but how we're handling it right now.
Well-
The rules of order don't show, it doesn't
Right.
show that the lime quarry's gone. It doesn't show that parks and buildings are in.
Can we send it to
Yeah.
you? And then as we go through it, we will pencil it out or.
Pencil out or in, yes.
And, right.
Because
So that we
that's,
don't do this 6 times. I'd
Yeah.
like to just send it to you and as we go through, we'll work through it. Say, as you recall, I mean, we'll look at it first and say,
I have it.
here's where we.
here's where each,
Yeah.
this division's doing this. This
Right.
division's doing this. That's what I think we should sit. That, is it working?
Tell you what,
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I'll bring up the current rules of order and highlight items that discuss that reflect what's happening now for your consideration.
Did you mark yours up?
Yes.
Your rules
Yeah.
of order?
Chad was listening and whatever we said about the annual report, we don't have the financials until June.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, we don't close the county until late March, right
Yeah.
before the audit.
That's why I said.
And then we have the audit, we don't do annual reports till after the audit's done. So any financials you were to get in January, that would not be accurate. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Those are just our annual metrics, like how many permits were issued.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
I knew that. but-
Okay, all right. I just didn't want you yelling at me.
You knew it was coming. There's no way, yeah, because it looks so. So executive went through some of it too, I think, didn't we? No, we just handed them out, kind of went through.
And yeah, and started to talk about it and we saw some obvious things that need to change. It's just a matter we need to change it, but
To suggest a change, but here are the changes that already happened, kind of by whatever we did through the division through the
they
year.
haven't been included.
They haven't been included. So it'd be nice to upgrade the ones that we do know of to get into here. Okay. So everybody will have to go and buy all new markers. Sure.
And these are just suggestions.
Isn't it?
Recycling.
No, anyway, I got it in my place.
I got markers in this desk, right?
Yes.
You got,
Tim's desk.
Gotta be.
is that mine?
All your books are in there.
Oh, I got it, yeah. Oh, cool. I gotta send it home. All right. Okay, so then, I hate to say this, to do it to Vince, but all these revisions that might happen on different policies, is that gonna come to each committee too, so they know these
Yeah,
policies a little bit?
we hope to have each committee kind of handles this differently. And the bottom line is, we'll go back to executive committee with, so far, here's what we've heard. Do you want to make any recommendations for the next board?
For the rules of order, but how
Right.
about just our regular policies, like I was at general government. And say if I was online, I would not have known anything you were talking about, is how I put it that day.
Okay,
So you gave me these to read.
That would be the responsibility of general government to deal with the financial policy.
Yes, but I mean, shouldn't each committee get these two to kind of look at?
Oh, yeah, you should have them.
Yeah, and kind of go through these two to see what we think of changing numbers and different things. I mean, does, when you change these, does it come to the
Without
full board?
usurping the general government responsibility, right? Because now we're.
They're gonna
seeming like
do-
we're
they're
trying to
gonna
get
do it,
into,
but don't
you
they
want
bring
to do
it?
their job.
No.
Okay,
I want to review it
We don't
though.
have enough to do here. That's what he said.
No,
that's right. We got another 4.5 hours.
yeah, but I mean, when we do ordinances, we still have to bring them to the full board to say yes or no. The policies you don't have to bring to the full board to say yes or no?
Yeah, we will.
Oh,
At the end, after the general government takes a look at them and votes on, I'll bring them to you.
so they're gonna vote, but I'm trying to say, do I say this into to when you do what you think is right, I'm gonna sit there that night then when you say, here's what we're gonna do, and I'll page through all my marks.
You can make any comments you want, provide them to me and Chad or to the general government.
Okay,
That's how I would recommend.
and say some of this doesn't get changed, then we sit and we amend this the whole time going through. We try to approve it at the county board. I'm just saying, the more people that see it ahead of time, the less you have to change.
Yeah, and so again, it would be important for us, once we take all your comments and other comments, we go to general government, they say, here's how we want it. Here's how we recommend changing it. Then we send it out to you, hopefully in advance so that you can look at it.
Hopefully in advance. So if I do happen to be sick or something and I have to watch it on TV there, I get a 2-hour discussion on something I can't find anywhere, is what I'm saying
We would
happens.
hope there won't be a 2-hour discussion when it goes forward. I would think this,
Okay, I would too someday. It's like our public hearings. We
He's
hope
hoping,
15
you're hoping
minutes.
Kim isn't here that night.
I think, yeah, he better be sick.
He saw how many red marks were on his copy.
I'm just saying, I read through these and it's just bizarre. Some of these are that old and stuff. And you know, I showed you some of the stuff.
and again, I know you waved that in front of me. We're gonna have to say, where did you get this copy? And we'll talk to Chad
I
about it.
begged for this at a general government meeting last time because I was sitting there with absolutely nothing and you guys are gonna go through all the policies and I'm sitting here going,
Yeah, I got it online,
Online.
well, after I,
but it was accidental that I
Yeah.
saw it. And then I printed it. Oh, look at that.
Once again, it's my fault because he stayed because I was here.
yep. Yes, and I shouted that I had to stay because he was here. Then I ended up asking about that. But I mean, that's, okay. I'm just saying, if we watch for it, and I just hate to have a full county board meeting, then we're all fighting over all this. They're not fighting over, but saying, okay, you missed this, you missed this. I mean, look how many red lines you have. And I have, well, half as many. Big one. So hopefully it's read over, whatever.
Yeah, I would say, give me all those recommended changes. Now,
Get
Chad,
general
we come to
government and go
general
through and
government
check.
Say, here are the changes, they go yay or nay or whatever. I think that's the process. Then we can bring it to the board as their responsibility is to present to you, here's what we think it could be.
The final one.
Some of your. edits
Unless we have to go to the
will be in there
meetings. Like I said,
somewhere.
if you want to know information, you go to that meeting. I did. Here's. Okay.
Number are we on?
We're on that last one.
We're on that.
Eric.
I made a motion picture.
We should say happy trails today. since we know.
With that, I want to wish y'all a happy holidays. Want to see it.
Oh,
New Year's.
Yeah, you too.
The bitch will be back.
I think you'll see.
Is there a
some-
second?
is there a second?
Is there a second? Brad? All those in favor say aye.
Oh, man.
All right.